Hello folks, I am Just a Dude and welcome to the I Am Just a Dude video channel. Today we're going to talk about something a little bit more lighthearted. We got heavy in the last two ones talking about guns in China. On this one, we're going to talk about something that is a little bit easier to handle. A little bit something with common sense and, in my personal opinion and through my own personal experience, extremely helpful to those of us who need to rest. I mean, completely rest, not do a little work here, there, and everywhere, but just stop it for one day. In other words, obey the Sabbath. But before we get into this, I want you to subscribe to my YouTube channel or my BitChute channel, and possibly in the future, my Brighton channel. And after you subscribe, if you're on the YouTube channel, click that little bell notification so every time I make an upload, you'll get to see it first. Okay, and if you're on BitChute, if you'd be so inclined and you want to support these channels, click that little dollar button next to the subscribe button, and any donation would be greatly appreciated. All right, folks, without any further ado, let's just get into this. Texas pastor Robert Morris, there are consequences if you don't take a day off. Now, people say all the time, well, I take a day off all the time. You know, I take the weekends off. I don't do anything. But do you really not do anything? The reason I say that is just from my own personal experience. You could say you're taking the day off, but then, you know, you're not really taking the day off. I could be doing, you know, email work. I could be doing computer work or website work or, you know, some yard work and thinking, well, I don't really have to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. What we're really missing out on and what the Lord's trying to tell us is don't do anything. You need to quiet your mind, your heart, and your soul and just kind of chill for a day and kind of recoup and gather your thoughts. And most people don't do that. And any of the women out there who are still homemakers, they especially don't really do it on a Sunday because guess what? They got to feed their husband, they got to feed their sons and daughters or take care of this or that and the other thing. And they always feel like there's something always rushing, there's always something going. But it's absolutely important to take one day off where you don't have to do anything. Just relax. And know that if you're putting your faith in Him, everything will be okay. Starting with the article, the 4-day work week has gotten a lot of airtime recently, and maybe for good reason. When a Microsoft subsidiary gave it a shot over the summer, productivity spiked 40%. So if that's going to work in, say, a Microsoft company, what do you think that's going to do for your own life? Yeah. Now one Texas pastor is encouraging everyone to prioritize taking a little time off to rest. Yes. You know, we often forget this. I know when I was a kid, I grew up in the 70s and in the 80s. And that was a time of change in a lot of respects because I had older parents, which was really a blessing now that I look back at it. But they lived in that era where Sundays really were holy. Sundays were really meant for a time to relax, rejuvenate, and just enjoy the day and not to do much work. Sometimes you had to do work. Something would come up, something would break. You'd have to fix something before you go to work the next day at the house, something like that. Sure, but 9 times out of 10, you try to just lay low, enjoy each other's company, watch some boob tube, and just relax and enjoy it. Most people today, a lot of people today, don't do that because they work in retail and a lot of jobs are 7 days a week. 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. They have weird schedules, and there's only so many hours in the day. They got to do work at home, whatever the case may be. And that's a flaw of our society. That's a flaw of us letting things get out of control and not taking a day off for ourselves to kind of recoup. Continuing with the article. Robert Morris, founding senior pastor of Gateway Church in Southlake near Fort Worth, even argues in his new book, Take the Day Off, that not taking a day off of rest, a Sabbath day, if it's Saturday or Sunday for you, is a form of sin. And it is. And this guy gives a great explanation of that. Continuing. The 58-year-old preacher told FaithWire he realized he needed to reprioritize rest when, several years ago, he endured what he now jokingly calls the great underwear crisis of 2004. If you're a guy, you get this. He had just returned home from an overseas trip when he opened his underwear drawer and found a single pair of clean underwear. Moments later, he pulled open his sock drawer and discovered he had no washed socks. Looking back, Morris sees now how silly the so-called crisis was. But at the time, it left him distraught and even in tears. Now, it's funny because Every single person knows everyone has a breaking point. And it's kind of hysterical that that was his breaking point. But at the same time, we kind of get it. People react differently to different situations, and anything could break anybody at any time. The fact that this guy had one pair of clean underwear and no clean socks, well, hey, that it did. It did it for him. It doesn't take much. Continuing, Morris, overtired, overworked, and overextended, was having a breakdown. That was when I started going to the Lord, and the Lord started showing me the principle of resting one day a week, and what to do, and what not to do, and how to actually rest. He recalled something that came into focus for Morris as he read the Ten Commandments over and over again. The fourth commandment outlined in Deuteronomy 5 is to observe the Sabbath day by keeping it holy, as the Lord your God has commanded you. So God didn't say, oh, if you want to take a day off, it's good. He told us, take the day off. It's better for you because I love you. I care about you. You need that day off because of the way I made you. I want you to have this day off. Continuing, people's willingness to observe a day of rest by taking a break from their work, Morris said, is a good way to measure their trust in God and how much they truly believe He'll still provide, even if they don't work 7 days a week. If we will follow His principles in Scripture, he said, then He'll provide for us. If we live by principles in the Bible, there are blessings and there are benefits, and there are consequences if we don't. That's why everything in the Bible is important to read and understand in context. It's so important. Continuing. Morris went on to explain, most Christians wouldn't even think of breaking the other 9 commandments found in the Old Testament, but the command to rest, he said, we often toss to the wayside, and there are consequences for us if we violate that principle, and there are huge benefits and blessings if we honor that principle. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know this from personal experience. As it turns out, Morris is right. At least, it certainly appears that way. In the summer of 1983, the Time magazine ran a cover story titled The Epidemic of the 80s, an article that describes stress as the leading health problem in the United States. More than 35 years later, not much has changed. An estimated 75 to 90% of doctor visits today are, at least to some degree, believed to be stress-related. In addition, chronic stress is linked to the 6 leading causes of death: heart disease, cancer, lung ailments, accidents, cirrhosis of the liver, and suicide. This is why it's important to rest your body. People always talk about you need your sleep, you need your sleep, you need your sleep, and you do. You need those 8 hours of sleep. You need those 7 hours of sleep, or whatever works for you individually to make sure you get those hours of sleep so you can get REM. REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep. But everybody ignores this rule. You have a day off. Let's just say you work Monday through Friday. You work on Saturday doing things around the house. Sunday, you go to church, you chill, you take it off. You watch some football, you do nothing. You do no work. I'm talking from the male perspective here, but for a female perspective, you would have to find that day for you where you do nothing. Actually, when I was younger, I know my mother, she would do a lot of her, house chores on Saturdays, whether it be ironing and laundry and all this other kind of stuff. And Sunday we would go to church, we would come home, we'd have a little lunch, we'd make a little lunch, and then we'd chill the rest of the day and just kind of relax, enjoy. But as time goes on and the culture changes and society changes, you kind of can lose that very, very easily. Continuing, according to Morris, following the biblical command to rest is one of the best ways to reduce the dangerous levels of stress plaguing our society. Yeah, no kidding. We always talk about all these mental issues in life, right? How about if everyone just took a day off and knew they're supposed to take the day off, and the society encouraged the day off just so you'd be okay? But we work in a society now where our employers don't care about us anymore. Pastors don't really follow the Bible anymore. They don't teach the Bible anymore. We have parents who are working 7 days a week. Or I should say let's say they work 5 days a week. But because we all don't have one day set to rest, it screws everything up. Because we feel like we're home, we're supposed to be resting, but then you think, oh, my spouse is working, my friends are working, I got to be doing something, otherwise I'm wasting my time. That kind of stuff gets in your head. Society kind of messed us up. Remember when I was a kid in the 70s and 80s? Well, I should say more of the 70s. Stores weren't open on Sundays. Everything, that was a holy day. That was God's day. That was the day that we were supposed to rest. Continuing, in his book, the pastor explained every person has 4 tanks. One that is mental, another that's physical, and one that's spiritual, and the other one that's emotional. As each tank is filled, it's then emptied into those around us. Like these big fuel tanks that drive down the road and go to gas stations and fill up the gas stations. Continuing, the Lord showed me, you don't like just to sit around and do nothing, so you just keep on driving to more gas stations. But what you don't realize, Robert, is if you run out of fuel, you're just running on fumes. And I really need you to go back to the refinery and just sit down and relax and rest so you can refuel others, Morris said. If people started to get this right, he said, many of the problems impacting our culture, anger, anxiety, and certain mental health issues could be reduced. Absolutely. Totally missed. That absolutely can happen. Continuing, everyone who implements this principle comes back and tells me, thank you. If they heard it from me, Morris recalled. No one has ever said, I started taking a day off and it ruined my life. Everyone comes back and says, that's one of the best principles and practices I've ever implemented in my life. This is so true. And as I'm recording this on a Saturday, I'm thinking about tomorrow and church and just chilling out, relaxing, not worrying about, I'm recording this today, but then I have to edit these videos. I have to get them up. I want to get them up for Monday, this, that, and the other thing. I have to remind myself, no, Sunday's for God, the family, and for friends. And if you want to go out, it's not work. It's totally, recreational. Just chill. You're going to be okay. God's got it covered. He wants you to take the day off. This is great for Christians, especially those of us who have a tendency to ignore this one commandment. And he's so right. Robert Morris, he's absolutely spot on, where this is a commandment that many, many, many of us ignore. And we shouldn't. All right, folks, listen, I hope this helped you out. It's a good reminder, I think, to take the time off for yourself so you can actually, keep the tanks full, right? So you're mentally sound, you're spiritually sound, you're physically and mentally sound. It's important. God told us to do this for a reason. All right, folks, listen, that's all I have for you today. If you'd be so kind, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, my BitChute channel. And once you subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that little bell notifications, hit that drop-down menu, hit the all button to make sure you get all my latest information and antics. And if you're on BitChute and you're so inclined and you want to support these channels, please hit the $sign next to the subscribe button. Any donation, any help would be greatly and is always appreciated. All right, folks, until next time, you take care. And as always, and I wanted to say one thing before I leave. If any of you are interested in actually communicating with me beyond the video channels, I'm doing a lot on Twitter now under I am just a dude 5. That's my username. I'm just a dude 5 because I'm assuming there's an I'm just a dude 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's fine. So I'm number 5. I'm just a dude 5. Look for me on Twitter. I'd be more than happy to, accept you, follow you, vice versa, and do a little bit of a communication with you. And as always, take care and God bless. Bye now.